Hello, folks. Welcome to another edition of the End of Days Dialogues. Boy, I have a lot to say, but it's so hard to organize one's thoughts on camera. This COVID-19 experience is fascinating. There are conspiracy theories, obviously, surrounding the pandemic. This is to be expected. But if you compare it with something like 9/11, which must be an extremely complicated conspiracy theory with hundreds and hundreds of people involved, dozens of government agencies and foreign powers and so on. Incredible logistics, preparation, everything has to be kept secret, right? And no really, really hard evidence can come out for decades afterwards. And compare it with this one where we've had decades of research with viruses and coronaviruses. The science is clear. There are thousands of papers published, peer-reviewed science papers published all over the world, across countries, all over the planet. We know CRISPR is a done deal. We know about genetics and genetic engineering. All of these technologies are commonplace now, available to everybody, basically. Universities all over the world engaged in this science. Obviously, government agencies, defense agencies involved with the science. It's everywhere. Philanthropic organizations funding the science, all over the place. When they point fingers at America or China, it's laughable because this is global research. It's like pointing fingers at Apple for taking advantage of labor arbitrage and building the phones in Shenzhen with components that were manufactured all over the planet. And you're so excited to spend another $100 more on the next iteration of iPhone. You can't wait because it's got another bell or whistle or something. It's so tedious. So citizen journalists who sometimes do better work than corporate journalists. And keep in mind, corporate journalists are paid by corporations. They have producers, they have managers, they have executives to answer to, they have shareholders to answer to, which is why I'm using the new hashtag capital gains first in everything, because it behooves one to understand what's motivating people's thoughts, people's ideas, people's activities. Some of it's money motivated, some of it's political, ideological, some of it's social signaling. Whatever it is, there are biases everywhere, right? So some citizen journalists who have credentials, who know how to read a scientific paper, which I would say 99% of people across the planet don't know how to do. And even for those of you who are very proud of your critical thinking skills or your skepticism or your book knowledge or your university degree, there are domains that you don't know anything about. Generally, I put those domains in the category of black box, at the very least opaque to most people. You don't know what it is. You're not a virologist, you're not a biologist, you're not a whatever. I'm not a pilot, I'm not an aircraft engineer, right? So I'm not going to tell you how to fix an airplane. But we wax emphatically on all of these subjects as if we know something because we heard it on CNN or MSNBC or Fox News or read it in the New York Times or the New Republic or the Guardian or Breitbart or wherever. Der Spiegel. Sputnik. Name your thing, you know. A lot of these outlets, platforms are owned by gigantic multinational corporations, with shareholders being hedge funds or other organizations or banks. So these stories are biased. Finding an objective story is almost impossible. But citizen journalists go out there, they do research, they work really hard, they come up with ideas, theories, perspectives on things. Everybody sits home and says, yeah, but Anderson Cooper didn't say it, so it's been debunked. Or everyone's enemy, the CIA, yesterday is now the CIA's friend because the CIA says it couldn't have come from this, it couldn't have come from that, or it did come, or it didn't, whatever. Everyone has an agenda, right? We don't even ask the basic questions. What's the agenda? Why does William Barr want to say this, that, or the other thing at this particular time? And no, you're not going down conspiratory rabbit holes. You're not falling into that trap. Oh my God, you know, I've got to go down every little rabbit hole, listen to every little thing. No, it's obvious. It should be obvious. Of course they have an agenda. Is it a grand conspiracy? Are they that smart? That's it for Marvel Comics, people. You got your Stark. He's the guy. And you got the bad guy. And, you know, the Joker's after you or whatever. And it's very clear-cut. At the end of the day, there's a nice beginning, middle, and an end to wrap your head around. But this isn't that. Information about this particular virus, a little bit of RNA, and how different countries handled the pandemic, whether or not it came from this place to that place, the origin story and so on, are going to be swirling around us for years to come. And we will find out, unless it's buried, unless the WikiLeaks is completely buried. And trust me, the way we're going now, any citizen journalism, any independent journalism that's worth something to normal people will get buried. Probably. And we won't give a damn, because somehow they'll distract us. They'll give us some toys to play with, and we'll be fine. It's depressing. You go back and read around the 2003 invasion of Iraq and Afghanistan. You read around the Taliban, what we knew about them in the 90s. You read around Reagan, Thatcher, Iran-Contra, the Vietnam War. Just pick a time in history. Go back to the turn of the century, or the robber baron period, or the Gilded Age, this or that. It doesn't really matter. You're going to find that powerful people like their power, and they have more ability to train us to worship them, to respect their opinion. Whether or not they're experts or not, they have more resources. They have access to experts. They have people that can go through information and organize it for them. They have PR professionals and marketing professionals working for them. And we just look and say, aren't they smart? They're geniuses. They got rich. You know, they must be good. They fund this or that. What's going on around this corona thing is, yeah, there's lots of funding from various organizations, funding research. And it boils down to this. It's like, let's front run this. It's like putting your server closer to the exchange so you can do flash trades better. Being closer to the money means you get more money, right? Front running a virus, you know, let's be heroes. Let's get our grants. Let's do this really crazy experimentation with CRISPR and with gain of function. And let's put it through, not only do we slice and dice RNA and DNA and whatever, we also run it through generations of animals to see what it does, how it evolves, how it mutates, what it can do. And can the rat infect the ferret? And can the ferret infect the monkey? And can the monkey infect the human being? And let's not forget that AIDS and other crises we've had are always milked financially. Who got paid first when this pandemic broke back in the day, back in March, in February? The bankers get paid. You get a $1,200 check. The bankers get to cover all their positions, the hedge funds. Financialized world is not a good world, people. You've got to learn about this. It's not a conspiracy. It's a shitty structure. I look at things from a structuralist perspective because it is baked into the structure of things. The system is rotten. Meanwhile, we have people going out and killing each other because they don't want to wear a mask or because they feel insulted or their freedom has been taken away. And you could go on and on forever talking about freedom. What freedom? Freedom to be coded and programmed by marketing, by algorithms. And we are, people. We really are. So the one thing I want everyone to do is ask themselves, where did you get that bright idea, that opinion that you're so passionate about? Okay, Western civilization, or your closest pop guru intellectual, whatever. Where did you get it? Is it from listening to hours and hours a day of a shock jock? Is it from reading books and scientific academic papers? Is it from your grandma and granddaddy? Is it from the preacher? Where did you get your ideas? Let's look at that. Be a little bit humble and ask yourself, where did I get this information? It's hard to spend some caloric energy critiquing your own thought processes, but it's extremely important, especially today, because technology is going very, very fast. Well, the wisdom, the sociological structures, and political and economic are lagging behind. All of this stuff that we take for granted that seems to make our lives more convenient, and in many cases it does, and there is ephemeralization in terms of technology. Things can get better. You can use less plastic to make a Coke bottle, but you're still going to have billions of Coke bottles because less plastic, more Coke bottles, because your marketing's working around the green side of your wonderful green Coke bottles, selling more Coke. I'm going to buy Coke and not Pepsi because Coke uses less plastic in its bottle. Do you see what I'm saying? So even though you make some progress here, you lose some progress there because we live in an infinite growth paradigm, which is absurd. If you do life cycle assessment on things, you look at the complete cost of things, including externalities, including costs to society, to public health, to the environment, to soil health, to the oceans, and so on. You get a better picture of the carrying capacity of the earth. You can think about these things. It's not going to kill you. You can still have your ideology. You can still be whatever you want to identify with. And you can be proud of that. And you can have all those things that scream your identity to the crowd. And get on with life and have a nice time. And maybe your daughter will go on American Got Talent and sing. And it'll make us all cry. And isn't that wonderful? But there are really serious things out there that are existential threats to all of us that could blow up in our faces. And asking us to be a little bit more thoughtful, a little bit more wise, to take our time, go a little bit more slowly is not a bad thing. Now, it's going to piss off a lot of people because they want to make money tomorrow, in the next minute. And they're going to be angry if they can't do that. And you're going to be pissed off if you lose your salary. Well, a lot of people lost their salary. We haven't been paying attention. And if the science is front-running this coronavirus threat by creating chimeras, by creating man-made viruses, to run the experiments, to crunch the data, to see how we could possibly make RNA vaccines or some other type of vaccines. If they are front running it and they have an accident and it gets away from them, they're not incentivized to be honest about it. So they're going to come out and make these incredibly emphatic statements that it's impossible for human beings to create a virus like this. That is a lie. If you do any reading in that domain of science, you will discover that very quickly. And there are plenty of experts out there that will tell you this. That's a lie. They don't want to get caught in it. And whether or not Bill Gates or some other entrepreneur who got super rich is going to help us all, is that democratic? Forget about Kaizen, okay? You know, advice from the shop floor. There could be a trickle-up economics. There could be a more democratic way of doling out resources for important projects, for public services, for the commons. You don't have to call it socialism. You don't have to call it communism. You don't have to call it anything. Let's just say we can come up with better ideas than we have right now that would make things a lot better for everybody. That's all I'm saying. Think it through. Look at alternatives. Use your imagination. Be a little bit more socially critical. Don't just take everything for granted. Remember, there's a world out there. All people don't do things the way you do things. There are alternatives. If we allow ourselves to be homogenized and boiled down into this one manipulatable creature, what's going to happen when they don't need our consumer habits anymore? They meaning people who have so much more power than average human beings. Would it bother them if several billion people just disappeared? I'm not saying there's a conspiracy of people wanting to do that. I'm saying if it happened and you could preserve the game, your game, for fewer players, and you thought you were smarter than everybody else anyway, a bit megalomaniacal, a bit psychopathic, sociopathic, perhaps you really do have it out for normal people because they used to bully you when you were young, or you grew up under stress and trauma because your daddy didn't love you enough, or your mommy beat you with a wire hanger or something. Come on, man. If we are going to be reduced to thoughtless idiots, consumers, who can't discern anything, who are just waiting for the next smartphone to come out, panting to get in line, and shed virus all over each other to get the new Air Jordans. You know, can't wait to get back into the shopping mall, to get back down the pub where we can scream at each other while we're getting drunk watching a basketball game. And you think you're free. You think you're smart. You think you're clever. You think you're powerful. You imagine yourself to be a warrior, to be a boxer, to be a martial artist, to be a marksman. Special farces. It takes a lot more than that to have agency in this world, because we live in a complicated world and understanding things isn't that easy. You really have to do some work. Asking people to do work is hard when they just want to have fun. I don't blame anybody for any of this. I want to be stoical. I want to have a stoical perspective. I can't blame people for things they're not in control of. I can only try to do what I can for myself, take care of my own business as much as possible, but do it in a way that takes other people into consideration. You don't just go down and wipe your nose on somebody because they asked you to be considerate. If somebody says, please watch your language, you don't just shove them into a ditch. The reason we want to change our behavior a little bit is because we want everybody to be better off. And if you can't feel that, you're a sociopath, you're a psychopath, you need some help. If you're healthy, for God's sake, don't you care about other people? their welfare? Can't you empathize just a tiny little bit with a Syrian refugee? Are they really just out to get you? What put them in that situation? I don't want to ask too much of people because they'll just get pissed off and hate your guts. But let's do our own research, think things through, and try to imagine that things could be better and how they could be better. And look at things from many more perspectives than we do now. This corona thing's going to be with us for a long time. Then there'll be another pandemic. And meanwhile, we're waiting for wet bulb Earth to engulf us. And even if you have a compound on a private island off the coast of Panama in the Caribbean, when wet bulb Earth hits, even if you have all the diesel fuel in the world and some wind power and some solar power to run your air conditioning systems, to run your little bubble, your life support bubble. When you go outside, you die. Is that how we want to live? Do you want to be in the bunker with your private security force up in the Arctic or Antarctic? Sitting it out as people all over the world die. Is that how you want to live? If we want to go back to normal, we have to define what normal is. And I want normal to be living in communities of compassionate, caring, decent people who love life, who are growing and changing and evolving, who are creative and funny, and most of all, loving and wise. I want to be around people like that and have conversations and learn things from them. I want to feel inspired by my fellow human beings. I don't want to hate them. I want to love them. You meet a lot of people who are so full of themselves. They seem charming and they want to seduce you, but they're only interested in your attention. It's like Instagram. Give me some attention. I don't really care about you. I'm pretending to care about you. That's sociopathic. Don't let this world turn us all into sociopaths. You have to be born to be a psychopath because that's a deeper malady. But this world is turning us into sociopaths. People who have no empathy, who can't think, who are just arrogant, vain idiots. Don't let that happen. Don't let it happen. I live in a place that still seems compassionate and humane and caring and considerate. I can't imagine being in a place where people take guns and protest health measures. Oh God, I'm so fortunate. Anyway, that's it. Sorry, long time. Thank you for sitting through it if you did. I'm going to be telling a story. It's science fiction. Should be fun. That's going to be at cospelon.com eventually. So take care. This is Mio Pequeno Historia do Céu, my little brief history of heaven and my end of days dialogues. Okay? Don't be a capital gains first person, which means don't support people like that. To hell with them. Take care. Have a good day. Bye.